Hey everyone, this is Zyger. I wanted to bring you all a guide on the Legacy of Nightmares Bombardment Thorns Crusader build. This build has reached some prominence and it's a very good solo build, and it's based around essentially the non-set set, the Legacy of Nightmares set here. So wanted to discuss this build. I'll be talking about the skills, passives, the gear, the gems you use, the Paragon, and some gameplay tips and maybe some gameplay. So here we go. Let's get into the skills. First of all, we have a one where you can have a decision here. This one's Shield Glare with Divine Verdict. Alternatively, you can do Consecration with Bed of Nails. That lays down a zone that causes some Thorns-based damage. However, Shield Glare seems to be better, especially for the higher tier Greater Rifts, because it serves a multifaceted purpose. It is kind of a defensive mechanism, and it also amplifies your damage for the Bombardment Blast, which is really the entirety of the damage for the most part. Steed Charge with Spike Barding. This does some damage to any enemies you run over, but it's primarily used as an evasion tool, but it can kind of finish off enemies as well. Bombardment with Barrels of Spikes. This does Thorns-based damage, and it's incredibly powerful. This build is based on stacking Thorns on all of your pieces if you can, and this does a ton of damage. Iron Skin, Reflective Skin. This is what amplifies your Thorns a huge amount, and you really stack a lot of cooldown to have this be up for a lot of the time. And as we'll see later, the timing makes it necessary to use this ability prior to doing Bombardment. Laws of Justice, here's another choice. You can do a movable object, or Decaying Strength is also good, both of which are helpful as a survival tool. If you have Long Arm of the Law, which I'll have based on my current cooldown levels, you can have that for basically the entire uptime. You can have that ability up. Akarat's Champion Prophet, not really a different choice here. It's just a big survival tool, and it keeps gradually getting better and scales with the gear that you get, so it's excellent. Alright, passive. So here we go. So Long Arm of the Law extends the duration of your laws. Lord Commander, it helps with the cooldown of Bombardment and your Steed Charge. Indestructible, survival tool, and Finery just gives you a ton more strength. If you have a Hellfire Amulet, you're looking for Iron Maiden. So one of those 5 passives. Iron Maiden is pretty much the key to this build, so I have that on my Hellfire, but you'll have to have Iron Maiden for sure. There's a choice that you can do between Long Arm of the Law and Fervor. Fervor will give you an additional 15% cooldown, but once you get enough cooldown like I have, anything above 61.5% or so is adequate for this build. It still will help you align all of your cooldowns so that you can do the Bombardment. So this is fine. If I put that on, I would have something like 68% cooldown, which is great, but it's not extremely necessary. So Long Arm of the Law is really good once you get your cooldown to full on your gear pieces. Alright, so let's get into the gear. So this build is based on the Litany of the Undaunted and the Wailing Host rings. Preferably on every piece of gear except for the weapon, you'll want to have Thorns as a secondary affix on all your gear. I don't have that on every piece, unfortunately, and that is what is constraining my power to an extent, but this build revolves around really good ancient quality items. For the shoulders, you're going to want generally Strength, All Resist, Cooldown, Bombardment, and Thorns as secondary if you can. It's really hard to get, but that's ideal. Alternatively, you could get Vid instead of the All Resist. My shoulder is alright, but it's not the best. Gloves, St. Archie's Gauge is the best in slot gloves. You want Strength, Vit, Area Damage, and Cooldown. Mine is very good, although it does not have Thorns again, and it is missing 1% cooldown, but that's fine. This is a good piece overall. For the helmet, you want a Leoric's Crown, Strength, Vit, and All Resist. If you can get Thorns on the helm, even better, but that's what you're looking for. My chest might be my best piece. You want Strength, Vit, and Bombardment, but I also was able to roll the Thorns damage here, so this is probably my best piece. Aquila Curious, it's an amazing chest. The Nemesis Bracer, you're looking for here physical strength, Vit, All Resist. Again, if you can get Thorns as a secondary, excellent. Amulet, physical strength and cooldown is excellent. This build does not need critical hit damage and critical hit percentage because Thorns doesn't utilize it. Hexing Pants of Mr. Yan is the best. It allows you to do more damage while you're running around. Strength Vid all resist is great. It's really good to get Thorns on, like everything else. Illusory Boots, best in slot here, pretty standard. For shield, there's a few options, and really what you generally want to do is just go with the best statistical shield that you have. Now, the Crusader shields have some advantages here because they can roll bombardment damage, and unfortunately I don't have that, but ideally I'd like to have like Strength, Vit, and cooldown and bombardment damage. Unfortunately I can't get that, although the shield is still pretty good because it has Thorns damage as a pretty high secondary roll there. The weapon, there's a few options here as well. Some people use Swift Mount. Doombringer's really good, and if you can, you want to roll the damage off so that it has physical strength, Vit, area damage, and cooldown. Now, this weapon is really good, but it's not ancient, which is too bad because you can only attune legendary gems to ancient gear, but that's fine. The belt, you need the Bell of the Trove. This calls down an additional bombardment every 6 to 8 seconds, I believe. Mine is a 7. It's not the greatest. Belt is where I could do better, too, because the secondary is not good. I want to have Thorns there. Thorns rolls up to, I think, 8,500 on the belt, which is really, really high. I'm missing some Thorns damage on some of my gear, and that is hurting my damage potential. Let's see. We want to get into gems. So, Bane of the Trapped, Boyarsky's Chip for Thorns damage, and the Esoteric Alteration, although if you are running Greater Rifts, you can alternatively use Bane of the Powerful, is pretty good here. Esoteric Alteration just gives you that additional survivability, which is really helpful, and if you can get this to really high levels, it's excellent. It's just an excellent overall gem. So, that is the gear. Let's get into Paragon. Paragon priorities, you basically want to have full movement speed and dump the rest into strength. Offense cooldown first. That's really the only great stat in here. Attack speed pretty much doesn't help you almost at all. Critical hit chance and critical hit damage do not help you at all. So that's kind of inconsequential, but cooldown first. Defensive, pretty standard for all builds. You go resist all, then armor, then life regen generally. Utility, resource cost is not an issue in this build at all. Area damage is very good. So area damage first, then life on hit, then resource cost reduction in gold, whatever. Those last two don't really matter. Let's go over to talk about the cube real quick. So with the cube, you have the Mortal Drama here. This just doubles the bombardment impacts, which is the hugest portion of your damage, like I said. If you are running a Consecration, that does some damage too, but it's not really that much. Heart of Iron. So what you do here is you put whatever you have better between Aquila Cuirass and Heart of Iron, that's what you wear, and then you put the other one in the cube. This just gives you Thorns equal to 300% of your Vit, which is excellent, just additional Thorns value. Convention of Elements, this is really key too for aligning the cooldowns that you have. You want to be shooting off your bombardments every time when you have the physical element up. It just does a ton more damage. Really allows you to one-shot a lot of elites in cases. As you get higher and higher, you'll no longer be able to do that all the time, but it helps the damage so much. Really takes big chunks off of the enemy. So, just a few tips with this build. It's really hard to gear for. You have to really find not only really good ancient pieces, but ones with Thorns rolled as a secondary, or else ones that you can roll to have the Thorns as a secondary, which has been a challenge. As you can see from my gear, I don't have Thorns every place that I'd want it, which is kind of a bummer when it comes to your damage in this. Still, it's really powerful and a really good build. The other thing is that timing is everything. If you are not the type of person that pays attention to your cooldowns or manages, your buffs, this is not the build for you. That is definitely a key part of this, and you really have to time everything right for this to do its damage potential. So, alright, let's get into some gameplay. I am just going to do probably just like a 70 here, just to show you guys what this is like. Let's go. So right here, just moving on to the first kind of group of mobs if you can. Right here. So I'm going to just do some of my abilities, use the shield glare as kind of a defensive tool, but what I'm doing right now is just waiting for the physical to be up, which is right now, and I was able to do Iron Skin. So this is going to do some more damage. Just moving all around. You want to always do Bombardment when Iron Skin is up, which is now. So there we go. Take out some of these elites. Always be grouping stuff up and always just find like escape routes that you can use here. So when you're not doing your Bombardment, you're really just kind of doing a lot of like evasion techniques. Right there, got that off. Here comes the Bombardment blast. There we go. So clean up these elites here. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching this presentation here. If you like this build or have any questions, feel free to comment right below. Check out my other videos on YouTube. And that's about it. This build is capable of going into the mid-80s. I haven't done that. I don't really have the Thorns affixes for that yet, but I do plan to keep pushing. I think I have a 76 or 77 done, but this build is capable of doing much more, as you can see from the leaderboards. So, thanks everyone. Have a good one. Take it easy.